So one more thing that I missed in the previous video was you can't use a keyword as a variable name as well. For example, I can't use the name as let. Okay. I can't use the name as let, or I can't use the name of something like string. Okay. Or see, when you write string over, what happens? You see. Okay, so I'm getting the value, but we shouldn't use it. That's a rule that you shouldn't use string, or I can't use object. Okay. I can't use the name object. So that is one restriction that you have to manage. Okay. So any keyword means any special word that is reserved for certain values, right? Data type name like number, string, boolean, okay, undefined, null, or variable declaration. For variable declaration, we use var, let, const. So these are the reserved keywords we shouldn't use. We should always avoid using it. Okay, so you have to remember this. Now in this video, let's understand about how we can declare the variable name. So we can use either var or let or const to declare the variable name. Okay, so now what is the difference between var, let and const? So we'll study detail about it in our ES6 section, where because let and const were introduced in when ES6 or ECMAScript 6 came into being, right? So initially from 1994 5 onwards, when JavaScript was being created, at that time for declaring variable we used var as the keyword. So var means variable. Okay, so it enables you to create a a dynamic data type. Okay, so then what is dynamic data type? Dynamic data type means obviously you can do through let also, but what is dynamic data type means, suppose you assigned a string value to a variable. So in letter you can assign this to the same variable name. You can assign a number or an array or a boolean. Okay, that is sounds weird, but that is true. How JavaScript enables you to add different kind of value. That is called variable data type values. You can add to a given variable name. Okay. Now, so what is first? Let's understand what is const first. So const means you can't reassign the value. Suppose I use here the name as my name. Okay, Sanat Sahu. If I use the name here, now after 10 lines of code, I want to change the name. Okay. So suppose I want, okay, let's not use names, let's also a reserved keyword. Let's use names. Okay. Now if I want to change the name to something else, JavaScript, okay, if I name right, you see what the error I get. You see cannot read declared block scoped variable. Okay, which means that let and const are block scoped and var is function scope. So what is the difference between function scope and let and block scope? Block scope means it is within a particular block of code. Okay, it's within a particular block of code, their scope is there. And function scope means globally, when it throughout the JavaScript file you have that scope. That means you can use the same variable name declared with var throughout the JavaScript file, but let and constant within that block, which means that what is mean a block? So if I'm having this block, simple curly braces is a block. Now if I'm having this over here, control X, and I'm trying to assign it over here. Okay, I'm declaring the constant over here, and I'm trying to give the value of names over here. Now what happens? Let's see. If I gave here names, okay, when I save, I get the value of JavaScript. Okay, because now this names variable is a different variable. Okay, it's not this variable. This variable is declared or is available only within this scope, only within this block only. Okay, but these variable names is a different variable altogether. It's these, the names might be same, but it is different variable because it is now given by default. The declaration has been done using var. Okay, so when I hover over it, cannot read declare block scope variable names is coming. Okay, but you get the idea, right? So when block scope means you always declare within a particular block. Okay, so using const and let, we create block scoped variable, and using var we can have function scope, that means global scope. Okay, so here when I'm trying to redeclare it or reassign the variable, because it's declared as const, we can't reassign it over here. Right now if I declare it as let, we can reassign it. You see what happens? Okay, cannot identify. Okay, Okay, so whenever I'm using instead of const let also I'm using. So since let is also block scoped, it is not, it is preventing the using the, reassigning the variables. So now what is the difference between let, so const you understood, right? So const you can't reassign a different value to the const variable. Okay, so to variable declared as const. Now what is var is initially we were using var, and from ES6 onwards we are using let. Okay, so you are free whether you want to use var or let, it's up to you, but always try to use let or const instead of var. Okay. So the difference between const, let and var will be studying in detail in the ES6 section. But right now you can remember that var has functional scope, and let and constant has block scope. Constant you can't, you can't reassign the value. So those three things you have to remember. So that is about var, let and const. So let's move to the next video.